here's Brody Brazil.
Let me just try and clear up some confusion on the voicemail front. I realize there are new videos coming out still with the old voicemail phone number on them, the 510 phone number, but I've actually moved on. I've got a brand new number for you. Forget the old one. Remember this one. Put it in your phone. You already know the drill. Call anytime, 24/7. It never actually rings. I never actually pick this up, so no worries, no stress. If you've got something on your mind, if you want to get something off your chest, if you've got a thought or a rant or an idea for a video you think I should do, something you want to hear me tackle, call in, leave a message, tell me about it, use your name and where you're from, 833-4Brody. Now, I don't use all the voicemails. I try and listen to all of them. I use the very best ones, kind of like this one.
Hey, Brody, this is Gordon from Wichita, Kansas. A couple items. One, how about with all the money that the county and state and city put in to support teams, that they have the ownership rights of the team name? So, for example, Baltimore Colts, the city of Baltimore owns the rights of the name of the Colts, and that the new owners or the league has to pay them or reimburse them for
to buy the
leaving
name.
the city, but if they still want to use the Colts name, they got to pay a price, and maybe those funds could be used for a homeless shelter. Who knows? Secondly, you approached the subject briefly some time ago about how the Green Bay Packers are owned by the fans. Could you expel on that idea for the NHL, Major League Baseball, to where the fans own the teams, where they have more ownership on the ideas of where the team is going to go or not go on that? I think that would be a great subject. Thank you.
Gordon, thank you very much, and I appreciate the call from the middle of our country, Wichita, Kansas. Always special to me that this YouTube channel reaches so many different places. So, Gordon, let me begin with your first question first, and then I'll get to the second topic you bring up. In terms of municipalities chipping in something, whether it's a city, a county, or a state, providing a public subsidy to a sports team. Now, I've always said that if a municipality chips in a major way, $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $50, $100, $1 billion, whatever it is, that municipality should get some type of forever agreement with the team that, like, in our lifetimes, they're not going to leave. For example, if you give a team $600 million for a stadium that they want to build, shouldn't it be only right that that team never leaves while any of us are alive? And I realize that a lot of teams sign that traditional 30-year non-relocation agreement. There are some outs in it sometimes, but 30 years is kind of like a home mortgage. I'm talking about if you're getting $500 million or $1 billion, there really should be no reason why that team is able to walk out of town in 31 years as if they were given nothing along the way. But I also see the other side of it. These teams are private businesses and entities, and how can you stop them from moving if they can't make their business better or if there are some ridiculous complications? Like, I go both ways on that thought sometimes if there's a distinct reason why it needs to happen. But I also think you bring up, Gordon, a great point here. Why can't municipalities, a city, a state, or a county actually own the team's name? If you're going to give a team $500 million, let's say the transaction is get something back from it. Yeah, you're going to maybe get some revenue and a lot of promises, but also take the name of the team. And I realize that's intellectual property, and I realize that might be super complicated, but so is giving a team $500 million to build a stadium. I wonder, like, how that would actually go if teams would be a little bit more cautious about leaving if they knew they couldn't take their name with them. Owning a team name, I feel like, would be a complicated process. How do you give up your name? How do you sell your name as part of this when there's also merchandising and branding and copyrights and trademarks and all that stuff? To the cities, states, and counties, do they even feel like they want that, or do they just want that position of power so that, to your point, if a team leaves and you say, oh, you're leaving? Do you want to keep your name? We'll sell it to you, $1 billion. If not, we'll keep it. And I think it's interesting because what if a team just says, we're not going to sell it to you. We just want to keep the name in case we ever get our team back. In Seattle, perfect example of the Supersonics. You walk the streets of Seattle today, you're going to see Kevin Durant, you're going to see Sean Kemp, you're going to see Gary Payton, you're going to see Detlef Schrempf Sonic jerseys. It's a beautiful thing because when the the NBA does go back to Seattle, they get to be called the Sonics again. And I almost feel like it's a guarantee that's going to happen. My point is, owning your team's name is super valuable. There's a sentimental feeling about that. There's almost a way to rally around that team's branding and existence, like when the Sonics went to Oklahoma City. Changed everything. Changed their name, changed colors, region, everything. So it still gets to be the Sonics history as well, too. An interesting situation, too, in hockey when the Arizona Coyotes became the Utah Hockey Club, now turned into the Utah Mammoth. But at least in the desert, right, if there ever is to be, and I think there will be someday, an expansion team back in Phoenix, they get to be called the Coyotes again. And fans get to rally around their Coyotes gear. It's almost a flag you can wear proudly. There is some value to this, right? It's on two fronts, Gordon. I think you make a great point on two fronts. Number one, it causes a little bit of hesitation about leaving or the thought of, well, we're going to have to pay something out the door to own this name. But it also means a lot to that region if they get to keep their fan identity with the team name. So I think it's interesting. I think it's super complicated to port over the name, kind of like you'd port over a phone number if you were changing mobile carrier services. What an analogy that is. But I also feel like, going to your second point, if you're asking, well, do teams need to be owned by more people, or should more public ownership groups exist? Should more teams be publicly owned? I don't know in this day and age if public ownership would fix all of the things that fans are critical about in professional sports. I mean, at a $10 billion valuation of, say, like the Los Angeles Lakers who just sold, how many public owners do you need, right? That is a crazy amount. Think about the board of directors or a board of governors or whatever you need. All the representation of the fans, it almost gets too diluted, where there's too many like chefs in the kitchen to try and get things right. That public ownership idea and concept, I feel like that was great in the 70s and 80s and the 90s when teams had a little bit more reasonable valuation. Nowadays, the valuations are out of hand. You'd need so many public people to be part of an ownership group, it might get out of control. But I do agree to some point that broader ownership groups might have more success in the future than teams that are traditionally owned by one person, one family, one entity, because the valuations are getting so high. And it's hard to even sell your team because you look around, you say, well, even a billionaire, somebody with $1 billion can't afford my $5.7 billion team. You need multiple people to go in. You need groups of ownership more so than you need one owner. And you would hope, you would like to think that sometimes groups of ownership would get things right more often than singular owners. A single person is hard to vote against. They just do their thing. They call their own shots. Nobody stops them. A group of owners, maybe there are some dissenting opinions, some different viewpoints. When it's one owner, it makes it far more possible that crazy things happen, things you don't like happen. So I think the point here is, if you're asking about fans owning a team, that's one thing. But I actually think what needs to happen more is broader ownership groups to help make a little bit more group decisions on things that happen with professional sports teams. Hey, that's the end of this video. You made it here. I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, let me know what you think in the comment section down there. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You know I'd love to see you back here next time. And you know I'd always love a voicemail. 833-4-BRODY.